I'm always misplacing things. My car keys, my wallet, you name it. But one thing that I never have trouble finding are files and folders on my Linux installations, because on Linux we have the find command at our disposal, and the find command is awesome because it not only allows us to find files and folders, it also allows us to find these objects by specific criteria such as name, modified date, and so on. So in this video, I'm going to show you all about the find command, which is awesome. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Alright, so let's get right into it and check out the find command. It's a very useful utility that you could use to find all kinds of things on your Linux file system, including but not limited to text files, directories, pictures, or pretty much anything that you have saved on your system. Now here I have used SSH to connect to my web server that is powered by Linode. And there's all kinds of files on this server that could be used as an example, but first of all, we need to know where the find command actually is. So if I type which and then find, we can see that it is located in the user bin directory, as you see here. On most distributions, it's installed by default, so you should already have this command available. So let's go ahead and see some examples. So a quick, easy example of using the find command is going to be to type find, and then we'll give it a path for a directory we want it to start its search in. So for example, I'll use my home directory. And inside this home directory, I want to find files by name. And then in double quotes, I want to find any file that ends in .err. And let's see what happens. As you can see here, I have a directory called logs in my home directory, and there are two files in that directory that match the search criteria, which again was that the file had to end in .err, and you can see that there's a few examples right here. Now you can start your search from pretty much any directory in the Linux file system, but you'll need permission to access any directories that you intend to search through. So for example, if I was to recall that command and widen the search to the entire root file system of the Linux server by just typing a single /, and then I go ahead and try it, you're going to see immediately that there's a lot of errors here. It's telling me that permission is denied. If there are any files inside any of these directories that show an error that match the search criteria, I wouldn't know because I am not able to look inside directories that I don't have permission to access. And since I'm actually executing the find command as my local user here, then I'm basically going to only have access to the things that this user has access to. So just keep that in mind. Now in the previous example, I started the search from my home directory, but actually I'm already in my home directory, so I didn't even need to type the home directory path. As you can see right here, I could simply omit that completely if I want to search only my current working directory. So I'll just get rid of the home directory here and press enter. And as you can see, the same files come up in the search. I could also use a single period just like that to reference my current working directory. I don't have to do that, but it's a very common thing to see. And again, we get the same results as you can see here. Now, if I was to look at the directory that contained the files that came up in the search results, we can see here that they are both files. And if you don't already know, we know that because the first character here is a single hyphen. And the reason why I bring that up is because with the find command, you can actually choose if you want to search for files and folders or just files or folders. Now by default, when we enter a command such as this, we are not actually clarifying if we want to search for files or folders. So it's actually going to show any files or folders that match the search criteria. So it doesn't really matter if the resulting file is actually a directory. We didn't actually clarify one way or the other. So what we can do is use -type, and then we could do F for file to basically tell the find command that we are only interested in the results that are actually files. And of course, the results aren't going to be any different because, well, these are files, so they match the search criteria. If If we change the F to a D, which means that we want to search for only directories, we can see that there's no results because there are no directories with a name that end in .err, so of course there's nothing here for it to actually find. If we know the exact name of a file that we want to search for, we can go ahead and type that as well. So for example, find, and then I'll search in var log, and then inside the Apache 2 directory. In this case, I am trying to find a file that is named exactly error.log. And there it is. Inside that directory, I also have a file called access.log, and sure enough, I'm able to find it with the find command. Now, in addition to finding files by name, we can also use other criteria to find files as well. For example, maybe you want to find all files that were modified within a certain amount of time, and you can absolutely do that with the find command. So for example, I'm going to look again in the var log directory, and I'm going to look for a modified time of less than 7 days. And there's quite a few files here. So if I actually change this to, let's just say, within 2 days, then we're going to get fewer results than we received the first time. The second time has fewer files. And we can also see that we do have some permission errors here because I didn't use sudo or anything like that. I was only looking for files that I actually have access to. But you get the idea. I could use a command such as this to actually look for files that were modified within a certain amount of time. The -m time option, modified time, takes an argument of a number, and here it's -2, so I'm basically saying I want to find all files that were modified in less than 2 days ago. We can also search for empty files as well by simply giving it the -empty option. And we do get several permission denied errors here. We're going to completely ignore those. But you can see we do have some empty files here. For example, this core.log is an empty file, and we can verify that by simply grabbing this location right here and then running the ls command against it. And we can see that it is indeed 0 bytes. That is an empty file. So the command that I used, this one right here, it had the -empty option, and that showed us all of the files that are actually empty. So if you wanted to do some file cleanup, cleaning out empty files is definitely a good place to start. Now inside my var log Apache 2 directory, we actually have several files that end in .gz. Now if I wanted to clean those out, I could actually use the find command to do exactly that. So for example, I'll use sudo because, well, I'm about to do something that requires more than just the privileges to read information. I'll use the find command, and then I will start the search in the var log Apache 2 directory. I will search for any file that ends in .gz. And before I actually modify anything at all, I should probably run the command as is to see what the results are going to be before I start actually modifying anything. So let's see what happens. And what happened is exactly what I expected to happen. It's showing me all of the files that are in that directory that end in .gz. Now, assuming I wanted to clear those out, I could simply add the -delete option, as you see here, and then press enter. And I didn't see any output here, but if I recall the previous command here without the -delete option, you can see that it's not actually showing any results at all. And well, that makes sense because there are no files anymore that meet that criteria because the previous command actually did get rid of those. So if you wanted to use the find command to do some file cleanup, you could certainly do that. Just keep in mind you have to be very careful so that way you don't delete something that you didn't mean to, because the find command, when you pair it with an option that will modify, change, or remove files, it will do exactly what you asked it to do, for better or worse. Now another thing we could do with the find command is use the find command to execute other commands against the files that come up in the search results. So a good example of that is changing permissions. Now take a quick look on the screen right now at the permission string for all of the files that showed up when I ran the ls command earlier. You can see that they're all read write for user and simply just read for the group. So let's say, for example, I wanted to add the write bit for the group to allow members of the group to also be able to write to those files. I could go into that directory and use the chmod command against each file one by one, and that would certainly work. But what if I had like hundreds of files or thousands of files? That would take quite a bit of time. Now here, there's only 5 files total, so you could argue that the find command isn't saving as much time as it would if I was using it against a directory with a bunch more files, but we'll ignore that. So for the example, I'm going to run sudo find. I'll start the search in var log apache 2. And then I will search by name. I want to search for any file that ends in .1. And first, when you use the find command, before you make any changes, you should confirm that the results of the find command, without an option that'll change things, shows the results that you expect. And in this case, it does. It actually shows just 2 files. The only 2 files that end in .1, so that does fit. So recalling that command, let's go ahead and take it a step further. What I could do now is type -exec, and then I could type a command here that I want to have executed against all of the files that come up in the search. So for example, I could write chmod, then G for group, plus W for write, and then at the end of that, we'll type 2 brackets, backslash, and then a semicolon. I'll press enter, and that was pretty quick. So let's take a quick look at the files within that directory to see if anything is different. And we can see that the output is actually different. access.log.1 and error.log.1 both have the write bit set for the group, so we were able to modify the permissions on both of those files with one command. And I could also reverse it by simply changing the plus to a minus. So as we could see from the ls command here, the permissions for these files right here are as they were before I've made any changes. If you want to check out other examples of using the find command, you could check out the man page for the find command. As you can see right here, it gives you a listing of all of the options here, and I can't go through all of them. It's beyond the scope of this video. But again, if you want to get more examples for this command, you can get that from the man page. And you could also see additional examples on the documentation page, which will have other examples that you could work through if you want to get some additional practice with the find command. As you can see, the find command is awesome. We can use it to find pretty much anything, and the options are almost limitless. There's all kinds of different criteria that we can use to find files. And the find command itself is kind of like a superpower. It's one of those commands that when you learn it, you just can't live without it. So I hope this video was helpful to you guys, and it shows you just how awesome the find command actually is. And as always, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we have some awesome content coming very soon. And also hit that like button because that lets YouTube know that you want to see more Linux content just like this. Thanks for watching.